The email arrived at 8:41 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was already at my desk, staring at a system error that had been quietly bleeding the company thousands of dollars an hour. I had found the root cause at 2:13 a.m. the night before. I hadn't slept. I hadn't told anyone yet. The subject line read, "Restructuring Update Mandatory Meeting." No punctuation, no warmth, just a sentence that felt like a trapdoor. At 9:00 a.m., I was told I wasn't leadership material. By 9:07 a.m., my access was revoked. By 9:12 a.m., security was standing beside me, pretending to smile, waiting for me to pack my life into a cardboard box. And by 9:30 a.m., the same people who had ignored my ideas for 4 years were already congratulating each other on streamlining the organization. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't argue, I didn't defend myself. I nodded, thanked them for the opportunity, and walked out quietly. That silence would end up costing them everything. The quiet one. I had always been the quiet one. Not shy, not afraid, just selective. In school, teachers thought I wasn't paying attention because I didn't raise my hand. Meanwhile, I was already solving the next 5 steps in my head. In group projects, I let others talk while I built the framework that made the presentation work. At work, this trait became a liability. The company was a fast-growing tech firm, open offices, glass walls, bean bags, motivational posters about disruption and bold thinking. Meetings were loud, aggressive, competitive. Whoever spoke the longest was assumed to be the smartest. I spoke only when I had something precise to say. That was my first mistake. I joined as a systems analyst, though my job title didn't capture what I actually did. I fixed things no one else could see. I noticed patterns. I connected failures across departments. I built internal tools that saved time, reduced errors, and prevented disasters that never made it into reports because they never happened. Success that leaves no wreckage is invisible. In meetings, executives debated strategy with the confidence of people who had never touched the system they were discussing. I would wait, I would listen, and when the noise settled, I'd say something like, "If we change that process, latency will double under peak load." Silence. Someone louder would respond, "I don't think that'll be an issue," and the meeting would move on. 3 weeks later, latency would double. I never said I told you so. I just fixed it. Quietly. Promotion season revealed the truth. The people who advanced weren't the ones who solved problems, they were the ones who described problems with energy, who used phrases like vision alignment, thought leadership, and owning the narrative. My manager once pulled me aside after a meeting. "You need to speak up more," he said, leaning back in his chair like a life coach. "Leadership is about presence." I asked, "Does leadership include preventing failures before they happen?" He smiled politely. "That's execution, different skill set." Different skill set. That sentence stayed with me. Execution was what made the company function, but execution didn't get applause, execution didn't get promotions, execution didn't get remembered. Noise did. The restructuring announcement came after a quarter of missed targets. Leadership needed someone to blame, the reorganization needed streamlining. I was categorized as non-essential. The exit interview was brief. "You're very talented," the HR rep said, reading from a script, "but we need leaders who can inspire teams." I asked one question. Did anyone here ever measure the financial impact of the systems I built? She paused, then, "That's not really how we evaluate contribution." I thanked her and left. Unemployment is loud at first. Friends check in, recruiters send automated messages, advice pours in from people who don't understand what actually happened. Then the silence comes. Days stretch, time slows, doubt gets louder. For the first 2 weeks, I did nothing. I woke up early out of habit, sat at my desk, and stared at the wall. I replayed meetings in my head, wondered if I should have spoken more, if I should have fought back, if silence had been cowardice disguised as discipline. Then something shifted. I opened my laptop. Not to apply for jobs. To build. I started with a problem I knew intimately. The industry was broken not in obvious ways but in subtle, expensive ones. Systems were patched together with assumptions. Processes relied on tribal knowledge. failures were treated as anomalies instead of signals. I began designing a system that could see what humans missed. No investors, no team, no audience. Just me, a notebook, and months of quiet. I built at night, learned new frameworks, studied communication, not how to talk louder but how to encode ideas into systems so they didn't need defending. I failed constantly. The first prototype collapsed under real-world data, the second was too complex, the third worked but only if I explained it, which defeated the purpose. Then I had an insight. The problem wasn't that people didn't understand the data. It was that they didn't feel the consequences. So I redesigned the system to translate invisible risks into undeniable outcomes. Dashboards that spoke in losses avoided, time saved, money preserved. No jargon, no persuasion. Just truth. When the system worked, it didn't announce itself. It quietly made bad decisions impossible. I realized something uncomfortable. Silence alone wasn't enough. I had been right but invisible. The world doesn't reward truth, it rewards delivered truth. So I learned leverage. I learned how to let results speak first, how to present outcomes, not arguments, how to tell a story without raising my voice. I recorded short demos, wrote precise documentation, let people experience clarity instead of hearing explanations. Months passed. Savings thinned. Doubt returned. Then an email arrived. A small firm wanted to test my system. I onboarded them myself. Within a week, they found inefficiencies they didn't know existed. Within a month, they saved more than my entire annual salary from my previous job. They didn't ask why it worked. They asked how much it cost. Growth didn't explode. It compounded. One client became 3, 3 became 10, 10 became enterprise-level contracts. I stayed quiet. No flashy marketing, no thought leadership posts, no loud promises. Just results. Then one afternoon, I recognized a familiar domain in my inbox. It was them. My former company. Their message was formal, detached. We're exploring solutions to optimize system performance and would like to evaluate your product. I laughed. Not out loud. Just internally. The meeting room was the same. The faces were older, more tired, less confident. This time, I wasn't sitting quietly at the end of the table. I was presenting. I didn't mention the past, I didn't remind them of anything. I showed them the system. 10 minutes in, someone interrupted. Wait, this would have prevented last quarter's outage. I nodded. Another leaned forward. This solves the issue we've been fighting for years. I nodded again. No speeches, no bravado. Just silence after undeniable truth. They signed a contract that day. Their biggest one that year. They never apologized. They didn't need to. The invoice spoke for me. As I left the building, I walked past the same security desk where I had once handed over my badge. The guard didn't recognize me. That felt right. I used to think being quiet meant being overlooked. I was wrong. Being quiet means you choose when to speak. The world is full of noise, opinions, performances, empty confidence. But competence moves silently. It builds, it compounds, it waits. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't argue. It changes the rules. Moral lesson. Noise seeks attention, competence seeks truth. Loud voices may win rooms, but quiet mastery reshapes industries. If you are underestimated because you're quiet, don't rush to become louder. Become undeniable.